A young widow bursts into laughter during her husband's funeral and shocks the guests at the solemn meeting. Everyone gets paranoid when she yells, "He's in there! Ethan is alive! Get him out of here!" and calls his lawyer. It was pouring rain, and the drops hitting the ground seemed to keep pace with Emily's racing heart. She stood before the open grave of Ethan, her husband, fighting the sadness that enveloped her like a dense fog. The mourners around barely stood out under the black umbrellas, and the sound of rain drowned out the monotonous voice of the priest, who recited passages about Ethan's life. Each word was a stab, reopening wounds she had barely begun to understand. Suddenly, a shrill laugh cut through the solemnity like a sharp blade. The eyes of those present immediately turned to Emily, who was now shaking uncontrollably, laughing as tears streamed down her face. The shock turned into murmurs and soon screams of panic. "What's wrong with her?" someone whispered incredulously. "Did she go crazy?" Martha, Ethan's aunt, stepped forward and grabbed Emily's arm, trying to silence her. "Stop it. This is no time for hysteria." Emily unraveled with surprising force and, between hysterical laughter, pointed to the polished coffin. "He's in there. Ethan is alive. Get him out of here." Chaos engulfed the cemetery. Screams of shock and fear echoed as Emily, still laughing and crying, pulled out her phone and dialed a number with trembling fingers. "Alex, come to the cemetery, now. They're burying Ethan alive." His voice was choked with despair. Minutes later, a black car came to a screeching halt, and Alex, Ethan's lawyer, quickly got out. She pushed her way through the confused crowd until she reached Emily, who was now sobbing suffocatingly. "Emily, honey, what's going on?" Alex's voice was full of concern, and his eyes reflected confusion. "He's alive, Alex." "I know. They're going to bury him alive." Emily clung to Alex, her voice trembling. Alex sighed deeply, trying to stay calm. "Emily, please calm down. Ethan is dead. He's right there in the coffin." The police report confirmed the accident. "No, Alex, you don't understand. There's something very wrong," Emily insisted, the conviction in her voice making Alex's blood run cold. The tension in the air was palpable. Alex's gaze softened, realizing that something deeper and more sinister was happening. However, the answers were still shrouded in shadows that were only now beginning to dissipate. Emily's life was about to fall apart in ways she had never imagined. On the way to the hospital, the sound of police sirens still echoed in Emily's mind. Sitting in the back of the ambulance, she trembled, still in shock. Alex held her hand, offering quiet solace, but Emily knew that the words of comfort wouldn't erase what she had experienced. Inside the hospital room, the white, barren walls seemed to tighten around Emily. Doctors examined her, assuring her that she was physically well, but concern for her mental state was evident. Finally, after a few hours, Alex entered, bringing an aura of calm. "Emily," Alex began softly, sitting down next to her, "you need to tell me everything. From the beginning." Emily took a deep breath, trying to collect her thoughts. "The day before the accident, I found a note at my bedside. He said, 'He's going to kill me. I can't tell you anything else. Save yourself before he comes after you. I love you. Forever and ever.'" Alex frowned, picking up the note Emily handed him. "But the police report was clear, Emily. He said that Ethan died in a car accident." "It's fake," Emily insisted, voice breaking. "There's something else going on, Alex. I know he's alive. And I heard someone at the funeral say, he's really dead." Alex took a deep breath, trying to process the avalanche of information. "Do you think someone is trying to deceive you? Make you think Ethan is dead when he's not?" Emily nodded, her eyes shining with determination. "Yes, and I laughed at the funeral to get the killer's attention. I knew he would be there, watching. I needed him to think I knew more than I really do." Alex was silent for a moment, before finally speaking. "Let's find out the truth, Emily. But you need to rest now. Let's solve this together." As night fell, Emily lay down in the hospital bed, her heart still racing. She knew the road ahead would be dangerous, but she was determined to uncover the truth about Ethan's death and the identity of the real killer. The next morning, Emily was released from the hospital. Alex accompanied her home, where the silence became almost deafening. Every corner of the house seemed like a ghostly memory of Ethan, and his absence weighed more heavily than ever. Sitting on the couch, Emily and Alex discussed the next step. "We need to understand what really happened in that accident," Alex said, determinedly, "and find out who's behind it." Emily nodded, her mind working in 1,000 directions. "Let's start with Ethan's car. If there was manipulation, we will find some clue." Alex made a few calls, using his contacts in the police to gain access to the detailed report of the accident. A few hours later, they received a copy of the document. The technical descriptions and impact data didn't give much away at first glance, but Alex had a hunch. "We need to see the car in person," Alex suggested. "Sometimes the finer details don't show up on paper." They went to the warehouse where the car was stored. The vehicle, crumpled and burned in parts, looked like a silent testimony of a tragedy. Alex crouched down, examining the wreckage carefully. It was then that something caught his attention. Unusual marks on the brake system. "That doesn't look normal," Alex muttered, showing it to Emily. "Someone may have tampered with the brakes." Emily felt a chill. "This confirms my suspicions. Ethan didn't lose control of the car by accident." Back at the house, Emily tried to concentrate, but fear and paranoia overwhelmed her. Every noise seemed like an omen, and the shadow of danger lurked around every corner. Then, a sudden knock on the door made her jump. "Who could it be?" he thought, his heart beating frantically. She peered through the peephole and saw a man in an impeccable blue suit, his back to the door. With trembling hands, she opened the door slowly. The man turned, revealing a surprisingly familiar face. "Ethan?" Emily gasped, feeling the ground disappear under her feet. "No, Emily," he replied calmly. "My name is Daniel. I'm Ethan's brother." The revelation fell like a bomb. Ethan never mentioned having a brother. "Come in, please," Emily said, trying to keep her composure. As Daniel walked in, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she was going deeper into a maze of lies and secrets. Daniel settled on the sofa, his grim gaze examining every detail of the house. Emily sat down across from him, still stunned by the revelation. Alex, who was in the kitchen, joined them, bringing Emily a cup of tea. "So, Daniel," Alex began, trying to keep his voice steady, "why did Ethan never mention you?" Daniel sighed, his eyes reflecting a mixture of sadness and bitterness. "Ethan and I had a disagreement many years ago. He always sought the spotlight, the attention of our parents. I was the quieter brother, the one in his shadow." Emily listened intently, trying to understand the dynamic between the siblings. "What caused the rift between you?" she asked softly. "It was a prestigious internship at a renowned architecture firm," Daniel explained, the veiled anger in his voice. "I've worked my portfolio, but Ethan, he stole my job. He presented it as his own and got the internship. When I confronted him, he denied everything and played the victim. Our parents believed him, blinded by favoritism. It was the last straw for me." Alex frowned, puzzled. "And since then, have you never spoken again?" Daniel shook his head. "No, I cut off all relations. Ethan built his life on lies, and I didn't want to be a part of that." Emily felt a surge of empathy for Daniel, but something still seemed out of place. "Why did you show up now, Daniel? Why after Ethan's death?" Daniel hesitated, his expression hardening. "When I heard about Ethan's death, something didn't feel right. He wasn't the kind of person who drove drunk. I decided to investigate on my own." Emily exchanged a glance with Alex, who nodded discreetly. "We need to find out the truth together," Alex said. "Something is very wrong here, and Ethan's death may be just the tip of the iceberg." Suddenly, a loud knock on the door interrupted the conversation. Emily's heart raced again. She stood up slowly, peering through the peephole. He saw a familiar figure, a policeman. She opened the door, and the officer stepped forward. "Mrs. Emily, we need you to come to the police station. We have some additional questions about your husband's accident." Emily felt the ground open up beneath her feet. She looked at Daniel and Alex, who nodded, encouraging her. "All right," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm ready." As she left the house, accompanied by the policeman, she felt that she was delving even deeper into the dark mystery surrounding Ethan's death. The shadows of the past were beginning to reveal themselves, and Emily knew she needed to be strong to face the truth, no matter how painful. Emily walked into the police station, the cold, austere environment amplifying her anxiety. The officer led her to a small interrogation room, where Detective Marshall was waiting for her. He was a robust man with piercing eyes that seemed to see through people. "Please sit down, Mrs. Emily," Marshall said, pointing to a chair. "We need to clarify some points about her husband's accident." Emily sat up, trying to control her breathing. "Of course, Detective. What do you need to know?" Marshall opened a briefcase, snapping pictures of Ethan's car. "We found unusual marks on the brake system. It looks like someone tampered with the car. Do you have any idea who could have done it?" Emily's heart raced. "I knew it. I knew it wasn't an accident." She looked straight into Marshall's eyes. "Ethan had a lot of secrets. I found a note from him, saying that someone wanted to kill him." Marshall raised an eyebrow. "You mentioned this note earlier, but you didn't present it. Can we see it?" Emily pulled the note out of her bag, handing it to the detective. Marshall read it carefully, his face hardening. "It changes things. We will investigate the authenticity of the ticket and look for fingerprints." While Marshall took some notes, Emily continued to talk. "And there's one more thing, Detective. Daniel, Ethan's brother, recently appeared. Ethan never mentioned that he had a brother." Marshall stopped writing, looking up at Emily. "Brother? This is new to us. We need to talk to him." After a brief phone call, Daniel was summoned to the police station. He walked into the interrogation room, clearly uncomfortable. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice laden with tension. Marshall fixed his gaze on Daniel. "We need to clarify a few things about your brother's death. Where were you on the night of the accident?" Daniel hesitated for a moment. "I was at home alone. I have no way to prove it." Emily felt a wave of distrust. "Daniel, why did you never mention your existence to Ethan?" Daniel sighed, visibly frustrated. "I've already said, we had a disagreement years ago. I didn't want to be a part of his life." Marshall leaned forward, his voice low and menacing. "Let's check everything, Daniel. If there's something you're hiding, we'll find out." The silence in the room was palpable, full of tension and suspicion. Emily felt that she was getting closer and closer to the truth, but she also knew that she was venturing into dangerous territory. The echoes of Ethan's past were becoming deafening, and each answer seemed to bring up more questions. When they finally left the police station, Emily and Alex exchanged a worried look. "We need to be careful," Alex said. "Something very dark is happening, and we're in the middle of it." Emily nodded, feeling the pressure mount. The journey to the truth was just beginning, and she knew that each step would take her deeper into the darkness of Ethan's secrets. Back at her home, Emily felt a whirlwind of emotions. Alex was by her side, trying to comfort her. "We need to continue investigating, Emily. We can't stop now." Emily agreed, determined. "Let's start with what we know about Ethan. There's something in his past that we haven't discovered yet." They spent hours digging through old photo albums, documents, and diaries. It was then that Emily found something that caught her eye. A letter addressed to Ethan, with no sender. The date was a few months before the accident. "Alex, look at this," Emily said, opening the letter carefully. The handwritten words revealed more secrets. "Ethan, if you don't stop digging, you'll end up dead. There are things that are better left buried." A friend. Emily's heart raced. Ethan was investigating something that led to his death. Alex frowned, thinking fast. "We need to find out what he was investigating. That could be the key." They decided to visit Ethan's office, where he worked as an architect. With the help of a trusted friend, they gained access to his computer. Emily felt a pang of sadness when she saw the background screen. A photo of the two of them on a happy trip. While Alex was browsing through the files, he found an encrypted folder. "It seems important. Let's see what's here." After some effort, they managed to access the folder. Inside, they found a series of documents and emails exchanged between Ethan and a person named C. Rodriguez. "Who is this C. Rodriguez?" Emily asked, intrigued. "I don't know. But he seems to be the key to everything, Alex said, analyzing the emails. Ethan often mentioned a discovery that could change everything. Rodriguez was helping him investigate something big. Emily felt they were on the right track. We need to find this Rodriguez. He may have the answers we need. Back at the police station, they handed the new evidence to Detective Marshall. He looked at the documents with renewed interest. This confirms that Ethan was in for something dangerous. I'm going to look for that Rodriguez. That night, as Emily was trying to rest, a strange sound woke her up. She stood up, cautiously, and followed the noise to the back door. When he opened it, he found an envelope on the floor. Inside the envelope, a simple note, "Stop now, or you'll be next." Emily felt the panic grow. Someone was watching her steps, determined to keep her from discovering the truth. With each new discovery, the danger increased, and she knew she needed to be more careful than ever. With the help of Alex and Detective Marshall, Emily was more determined than ever to unearth the secrets surrounding Ethan's death. But now, with threats to her own life, she knew the price of truth would be high. The threat on the note put Emily on high alert. She and Alex reinforced the security of the house, but constant fear hung in the air. "We need to find C. Rodriguez before it's too late," Emily said, determined. The next day, they went to the police station to meet Detective Marshall. He had made progress and found an address linked to the name C. Rodriguez. "He lives in a dangerous neighborhood, so be careful," Marshall warned. "I'm going to send a policeman with you." Emily and Alex followed the officer to a deteriorating building. They climbed the creaking stairs to the indicated apartment. Emily took a deep breath and knocked on the door. A middle-aged man, looking tired and looking suspicious, opened the door. "Yes?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Are you C. Rodriguez?" Emily asked, trying to stay calm. "We need to talk to you about Ethan." The man hesitated, but opened the door to let them in. The apartment was small and cluttered, with piles of papers everywhere. "Sit down," he said, indicating the couch. "What do you want to know?" "Ethan was investigating something before he died. We found matches between you. What did he discover?" Emily was straight to the point. Rodriguez sighed, running his hand over his face. "Ethan was close to uncovering a network of corruption involving politicians and businessmen. He found evidence, documents, but I knew I was in danger." Alex leaned forward. "Do you have this proof?" Rodriguez nodded. "Yes, but keeping them put me in their sights. Ethan was trying to protect me and my family. When he died, I thought he was next." Emily felt a chill. "Has anyone ever tried to threaten you?" "Yes," Rodriguez replied. "I receive threats constantly. They know I'm involved." As they spoke, they heard a noise outside. Rodriguez quickly got up and peeked out the window. "You better get out of here. It's not safe." Before they could react, the door was broken down and masked men entered, armed. "Hands up," shouted one of them. Emily, Alex, and Rodriguez raised their hands, fear spreading quickly. "You got in where you shouldn't," one of the men said, pushing Emily against the wall. "Do you think you're going to escape?" Suddenly, the sound of sirens echoed through the street. The men exchanged nervous glances and began to retreat. "This is not over yet," one of them threatened before fleeing. The policeman who accompanied them entered soon after, calling for reinforcements. "Are you okay?" he asked, checking everyone. "We are," Emily replied, trembling. "But now we know how much we are in danger. We need to act fast." Back at the police station, they handed the evidence to Marshall. "This is explosive," he said, examining the documents. "We will need protection and a plan." Emily knew that the fight was just beginning. With the truth on the verge of being revealed, the stakes were high, but she was determined to expose everyone involved, no matter the cost. The threats did not stop Emily. On the contrary, they strengthened their resolve. With the evidence in Detective Marshall's hands, they knew the next move would be crucial. Emily, Alex, and Rodriguez met at the police station to discuss the plan. "We need to expose this to the public," Alex suggested. "The media can be our ally." Marshall agreed. "But we need to be careful. If it leaks too soon, they can try to silence them for good." Rodriguez, visibly tense, spoke. "I know a trusted journalist. He has investigated corruption before. It can help give visibility to the case. Marshall nodded. We will contact him, but we need more security. You will be protected, but you cannot let your guard down. Emily and Alex went to a safe place, under police surveillance. Rodriguez stayed to organize the tests and prepare contact with the journalist. The tension was palpable, but the feeling that they were close to something big propelled Emily. Days later, the meeting with the journalist, Daniel Costa, was scheduled in a discreet cafe. He arrived, looking calm and confident. Rodriguez told me everything. This is explosive. We need a solid plan. Emily handed him the documents. We need the world to see this. It is the only way to guarantee our safety. Daniel scanned the papers quickly, his eyes widening as he read. This is enough to bring down powerful people. We will publish, but we need testimonies. Your story, Emily, could be the key piece. Emily knew that putting her life on the line was inevitable. I'm willing to do that. They need to pay for what they did to Ethan. Marshall set up a protection scheme. The night before the publication, Emily recorded an exclusive interview, telling everything she knew. Her voice trembled, but her determination was visible. The next day, the story was aired. The revelations shook the city, causing a wave of outrage and fear among those involved. Phone calls and emails flooded the newspaper's offices. The pressure on the corrupt has increased exponentially. Suddenly, an explosion occurred near Emily's hideout. The building shook, alarms went off. Emily and Alex were hurriedly removed by security guards. They're desperate, Alex said, panting, but they can't silence us. Marshall met them in a new safe location. You did an excellent job. Justice is on the move, but the next few days will be crucial. We need to maintain maximum security. Emily, looking at the city in the distance, felt a mixture of fear and hope. The truth was finally coming out, but the battle was far from over. The next steps would be the most dangerous, but she knew that with Alex and Marshall by her side, they could face any threat. The streets were empty as Emily and Alex made their way to safety. The driver, a trusted agent of Marshall's, kept an eye on his mirrors. Fatigue was beginning to weigh on Emily, but the determination in her eyes was clear. They needed to survive this night. Arriving at the hideout, an old warehouse turned into a makeshift refuge, Marshall greeted them with a grave expression. They are increasingly desperate. We need to act fast. Inside the warehouse, security was tightened. Police officers in every corner, attentive to any movement. Emily barely had time to breathe before Marshall began discussing the plan. We have enough evidence to dismantle the whole network, he said, scattering documents on a table. But we need to catch the leaders in the act. This is our chance. Rodriguez entered, bringing fresh news. We intercepted a communication. They plan a final attack. They know they are cornered. The air in the warehouse became even denser. We need to anticipate, Alex said. Expose everything before they can reach us. Marshall agreed. Let's do it. Daniel Costa is prepared for a live broadcast. We need to catch these bastards in the act. The plan was audacious. Lure the leaders into a fake meeting, promising a deal. With Daniel's help, the live stream would capture everything, exposing the corruption network in real time. Hours later, Emily, in disguise, entered the abandoned building where the meeting was to take place. Alex, by her side, remained calm, but her eyes revealed the tension. The minutes passed like hours. Finally, the leaders arrived, confident of their impunity. When everyone was present, Emily gave the signal. The broadcast began, and Marshall's words echoed through the building. You are surrounded. The criminals, taken by surprise, tried to escape, but the exits were blocked. Police officers invaded the place, arresting everyone. The live broadcast showed everything, and the city watched, incredulous, the fall of the powerful. Emily and Alex left the building, exhausted but victorious. Marshall found them, a relieved smile on his face. We did it. Back in the warehouse, the team celebrated. The battle was almost won, but they knew that the danger had not yet passed. Emily looked at Alex, holding his hand. It's not over yet, but we're almost there. On the horizon, the sun was beginning to rise, bringing new hope. The night was silent, But Emily knew that silence was only the calm before the storm. In the new hideout, security measures were redoubled, and the tension in the air was almost palpable. Marshall, Alex, and the officers were on alert, waiting for the decisive moment. Suddenly, a message arrived on Emily's phone. It was Rodriguez's. They discovered the place. We need to act now. Marshall organized an immediate evacuation. We will take them to the police station. It's the safest place now. Emily and Alex quickly made their way to the cars, but the feeling of being watched wouldn't let her. As they got into the car, a sound of gunfire rang out. Glass burst, and Emily bent down instinctively. Marshall pulled them to the ground. Stay down. Let's get out of here. The cars accelerated, but were blocked by a black SUV. Masked men came out, armed, and the confrontation began. Marshall and the officers responded by creating a makeshift barricade. Emily saw the opportunity and ran with Alex to a nearby alley. We have to get to the police station on our own, Alex whispered, taking an alternate route. They ran, the sound of gunfire diminishing as they moved away. Emily's heart was beating fast, but determination guided her. Arriving at the police station, they found Daniel Costa, who was already there, coordinating with Marshall. Are you okay? He asked, worried. Yes, replied Emily, panting, but they're getting bolder. We're going to broadcast live, Daniel said. Now is the time to expose everything. While Daniel was preparing the broadcast, Marshall entered with the last documents. We have everything we need. It's now or never. Emily, Alex, and Marshall appeared on the live broadcast, telling in detail the corruption plot and the recent attacks. The evidence was displayed, and public outrage increased. As they spoke, an explosion shook the building. The broadcast continued, capturing the chaos. Don't stop broadcasting, Daniel shouted, keeping the camera steady. The fire was quickly brought under control, and officers evacuated everyone safely. The audience watched in real time, seeing Emily and Alex's courage in the face of adversity. The next morning, the mass arrest operation began. Politicians, businessmen, and everyone involved in the plot were arrested. Justice finally prevailed. Days later, Emily and Alex, exhausted but relieved, sat in the park. It's over, Emily said, looking up at the sky. Ethan can rest in peace. Yes, Alex agreed, holding his hand. You were amazing, Emily. She smiled, feeling a new strength grow inside her. We did what was right, and that's what matters. Marshall approached, bringing good news. The arrests have been made, and you are safe. The city owes you a lot. Emily finally felt the peace that had long eluded her. He knew that despite the losses and suffering, he had won the battle for the truth. And that, he thought, was the greatest tribute he could pay to Ethan. Let us know what you think of this story and share this story with your friends. It might brighten their day and inspire them. See you in the next exciting story.